But to dig into the Ariel thing, I find it really amazing that people are so racist that they can't have Black people in their fantasy worlds. So people are really trying to have scientific arguments about mermaids. Like, full stop, pause. Before we move forward with this conversation, this is obviously me talking to this person that is upset with having a Black mermaid. Before we move one step forward, you believe in mermaids?
Right.
We can't talk about anything else until you say out of your adult face that you believe in mermaids. Okay, because if you don't believe in mermaids, then you're just mad that Disney cast a fantasy creature, something that doesn't exist, as a Black person. So you're so racist, you can't have mermaids who in the movie are talking to crabs and pufferfish, and there's a sea witch who's casting spells. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Like, you're I don't even know. I don't think there's a word to describe what kind of individual you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're a waste of life. Like, you are literally using precious life energy to be a void in society. I can't elevate you past that. You're like that green mush stuff that like floats on the top of
algae
the water.
or like,
yeah, what are you talking about? It's a sea witch, okay, that casts spells. This is the movie we're talking about.
You serious?
But I think people misunderstand why it's egregious. Okay, there's a couple of angles to take from this, but the main thing, I think the primary thing that you have to understand here is the creative and art aspect of it all. Okay, so, well, let's backtrack just a little bit. Everything that is done, this is year 2022. So everything that is done where there is a swap is done purposefully. Hollywood has never, for the most part, and they don't now especially, cast anybody with the intention that they didn't go out there to seek that. When there's a swap, that is, okay? So this whole, their best person for the job, or you might like the actor or actress, that's completely irrelevant. And that's simply you being dishonest, because when there is a swap, they do it purposefully. We know that a lot of different awards are tied to having X amount of people of this ilk that are part of your project, meaning that these things that these guys care about, be it these awards that they get for these films, they can't even be eligible for those unless they check certain boxes, and they check a certain amount of boxes. That is not my opinion. That is a fact. So when you take someone that's already established, or a character that's already established, and then you say, okay, bam, we're going to swap it, it is done always intentionally, or almost always intentionally. Doesn't mean that the actor or actress is not good or cannot be good for let's say just in terms of their talent, right? So when someone sees a tokenization, they say this race swap, this is silly. That does not mean that they are crapping on that person as an actor or actress. Just because they say that doesn't make sense for that character to be portrayed in that way does not mean that that person can't act, okay? But the creative sense is the part where I really, as an artist, like, I don't like it, and I despise when people actually try to justify this bad behavior, because it incentivizes laziness, okay? But what happens is these creatives who pretend like they know what they're doing somehow always find themselves justifying lazy swaps. And I just wish they would stop being chicken crap and would just flat out admit that they like Black versions of white things. And it's funny, because if you're a Black person and you know this experience, from experience, if you have done this publicly, where like on social media, they'll call you all types of house N words, all sort of derogatory racial based names in the event that you speak against the tokenization, which is hilarious. Like, I had one guy, you saw me on Twitter talking about, he's like, oh, well, some white supremacy. I'm like, the person that thinks white folk are supreme to others is the person that's foaming at the mouth, begging for his scraps, acting as if things cannot exist unless it goes through that white man and that white character that had already had decades upon decades of established lore, established history. And you don't want to put in that work as a creative So you swap it because that's the only thing you see as legitimate. So these folks who fist in the air, pro-black, yes, Queen Slay, I love the fact there's this black little black area or whatever. You just like the fact that there's a black version of something that you grew up with based upon a white character. Just say it. You the one that think white folks are superior to other folks. That ain't what I do. It's a projection. But more importantly, it's lazy. It's just art-wise is something that I will never condone or never justify. Even the ones where you think they feel, oh, I was okay with. I don't care that you were okay with it, considering the day and age that we live in. These people, we should be in a creative renaissance where people are able to create stuff anew. And they refuse to do it, or they're incapable of doing it, and they blame their failures on the audience, which is why y'all can't halfway connect with them anyway. So they go back to the old faithful. Let's take something that someone already recognizes and what someone already knows, and let's just palette swap. Bam, here, look at me signal. And any criticism means that you hate the actor or actress or some sort of, that's all nonsense. Oh, well, people don't want to support original work. Maybe your work is trash and they won't support it. But I'm a living and breathing example right now of someone who did do the work to create something that is alternative. Funny, if I ain't one. Well, y'all care so much about fictional characters. No, you care so much about them, which is why you advocate for these changes or justify these changes, and you spend a lot of energy doing so. I do care about art. It's my livelihood, for sure. But I'm not in the business of begging white people to accept me or taking characters that are white and changing them. But y'all fools sitting there foaming at the mouth because y'all want these white folks sloppy seconds and every freaking character. Oh, here's this movie got this character that's tokenized because the studio wants to check a box. And, oh, I love him as an actor. He's a great actor. He'd be great for the role, knowing damn well that wasn't why he was picked. That doesn't mean that the person can't act. But you know good and damn well, if there is a race swap in 2022, best believe it was done purposely. They did that stuff. They said, look, we need them to look this way. So that's what we're going to have them do. And that's fine. Admit it. You suck. That's all I'm saying.